Welcome to Justice Matters. I'm Denise George, Attorney General of the U.S. Virgin Islands. Justice Matters is a program aimed to inform, engage, and empower you with knowledge of Virgin Islands laws that affect our everyday lives and our community. We have insightful discussions with special guests on the laws and related topics so you can be empowered to make a difference in our community and be a part of the solution. Today's topic is part 2 of preventing substance abuse and overdose. We are focusing on law enforcement efforts to combat and prevent illegal drug crimes, drug abuse, and overdoses, and other violent crimes associated with it. The law enforcement organization HIDTA, consisting of federal and local law enforcement officials and leaders in Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands, have joined forces to do just that. So joining us on part 2 today is Rodney Querrard. He is the Drug Intelligence Officer of HIDTA, and we're continuing our discussion on crime, drug crimes, and the importance of taking action against it in our combat against drug and violent crimes. Welcome back to Justice Matters, Mr. Querrard.
Thank you very much, AG.
And this is a continuation, actually, of our talk on the last Justice Matters, and this continuation of our talk about HIDTA, what you do, and about controlling and prevention and of the drugs in our territory, the drug industry, and it's here and it's real, as you talked about.
It's here, it's real, and it's not going away anytime soon.
And especially none of those people have become educated and really know what it's about, and we can work towards that end. So speaking of that, let's talk about the opioid problem. I know nationally it is definitely an epidemic, and just recently we've had a few deaths.
Yes.
One thing about a few deaths, we've had about 5 in the Virgin Islands from opioid overdoses. Now, remember, those are just deaths, but we also have to keep in mind that that does not mean that there's not a problem.
Exactly.
That's the ultimate. Exactly. So tell us about that. And
all right. Again, the whole overdose response strategy is, trying to prevent overdose deaths, and that's one of my main functions as the Drug Intelligence Officer for ONDCP through the ORS, through the Puerto Rico U.S. Virgin Islands HIDTA. Unfortunately, there were over 108,000 deaths in the United States involving overdose deaths, the majority of them involving a product called fentanyl. Fentanyl is a scary, scary product. It is, causing many, many deaths, many, many near deaths throughout the United States, Canada, throughout the world, actually. Fentanyl is a medication that's supposed to be used to control pain in a control environment. Unfortunately, there are people actually making fentanyl by getting products through China and Mexico in the United States, and selling it on the street. Again, the potency for these products is ridiculous. Fentanyl is a product. If you have a penny, you know the size of a regular US penny, and you also know the size of 3 grains of salt. Hold a penny up and just figure what 3 grains of salt will look like and compare the sizes. 3 grains of salt you can barely see, but that's all it would take for a human body to be killed. Now, again, everybody's body chemistry is different. What may kill me in 3 grains might take 4 for you. But just we using a comparison of a size of a penny, and 3 grains of salt. 3 grains of salt of fentanyl, the size of 3 grains of salt of fentanyl can kill a human being.
And what's even more dangerous is that oftentimes legal pills and everything, or something that looks like something else, are laced actually with fentanyl, and that's what causes a lot of deaths as well.
That's one of the main issues in the States right now. I know you started out about talking. Let's start with the VA, the problem that we know about right now in the VA. Over the last few years, we had some incidences where people actually died because of fentanyl overdose.
Right.
The individuals who succumbed to the utilization of the fentanyl were actually transients. They were people from the States who came here to work in the USVI, either brought it with them, had it mailed to them, whatever the case is, and they end up being victims to the fentanyl overdose. Now, the scary part about fentanyl is this. People in the United States are buying pill presses, which they are illegal, but they are finding ways to the dark web and everything else. People, if there's a will, people will find a way. Mm-hmm. And they're making pills, for instance, a pill that would look exactly like a Tylenol, Adderall, you name the pill. They're making the products to look exactly like those particular pills with the emblem of the Tylenol, Adderall, whatever it is on there, but it's actually laced with fentanyl. Mm-hmm. So here you are, somebody giving you a pill, you assume it's an Adderall, which is a popular drug that's given to like college students, to keep them awake and all that stuff. And it's being actually prescribed by doctors, mm-hmm. And it's laced with fentanyl. So you take that pill and you end up dying. Right. Again, everybody's body chemistry, it might not cause your friend to die, but you take that same pill and you would die because of your body chemistry. And there's a product that they utilize, it's called naloxone, Narcan, that's being utilized to, balance off that effect, mm-hmm. but it only works for a short time. Mm-hmm. So for instance, there were a couple of incidences I'm aware of in the States, actually more than two, where law enforcement handling what they thought was cocaine was actually fentanyl because they look pretty much the same. They were handling it and they OD'd just by handling the Ziploc containing the fentanyl.
And that's from the absorption.
The absorption and dust.
Blood. Okay.
And the one individual, he had to be given Narcan. Good thing his partner had Narcan. And right now, the Virgin Islands Police Department and other health officials, they're being trained in it also.
And I want you to explain more, talk about Narcan, because that is something that I know it's been a HIDTA initiative,
yes,
but also a local initiative, a health initiative,
yes,
that we're working on to get our law enforcement with that.
Because of that threat in the States.
Right.
Because unfortunately, whatever happens in the States, we end up being followers here and we end up falling into that same trend. And I'll talk a little bit about that afterwards. Mm-hmm. But the fentanyl, this particular officer, he was given Narcan 3 times en route to the hospital. And when he got to the hospital, of course, they gave him the drip, so it was controlled there. But if his partner did not have the Narcan, or if the EMTs did not get to the scene timely, he would have died. Mm-hmm. Because fentanyl is a product that tells your brain to tell your lungs, stop working. And how long can you hold your breath, AG? Can you hold it forever?
Not forever.
Okay, so that's the whole thing. It tells your brain to stop breathing. So you're fighting to breathe, and you can't breathe because your muscles in your chest, your lungs don't work. So you end up suffocating to death.
And the Narcan is what it's used by the law enforcement, and hopefully law enforcement can be all equipped with that because
yes,
they can actually save lives when a person is suffering from an overdose.
Very, very important. And because of the cases in the States, the Department of Health, the EMTs and the Virgin Islands Police Department, they're in the process of not only training, but issuing Narcan mm-hmm. for their officers to utilize, because not only it might end up saying in one of their fellow officers, because you cannot give it to yourself. When you're in that predicament, you panic and that's it. You better hope that your partner is trained and mm-hmm. able to utilize it. The States has gone so far as to issue it not only to family members of individuals who utilize drugs in the States, but also to the people utilizing the drugs themselves. Yeah. So they can save their friends. That's how serious the opioid problem is in the United States. And like I said earlier, we in the Virgin Islands, I feel sometimes, we need to be more leaders and utilize our own minds instead of being followers to what's going on in the States. If a particular music, dress code, food product, anything that the States does, we want to pick up and more or less piggyback on that. But, sometimes I think we in the VI need to be more leaders and decide, we don't want to be part of that. But unfortunately, that's in a perfect world. That's not going to happen. So just like fentanyl is causing all these deaths and overdose cases in the United States, it's just a matter of time before we get a serious, significant number here. I am deadly afraid of it. And the reason is, like I said, these pills are being infused and laced with fentanyl. They're being sent here through different, mailing services here to the Virgin Islands on a daily basis, just like marijuana. Marijuana is being shipped here daily from all over the United States. A lot of it is being seized in the process, but a lot of it is making its way here.
What is the difference? Is there a difference between the marijuana? I think there was a discussion on that earlier, but what is the difference between the marijuana being shipped in or what's grown here? I mean,
the
growing
potency.
marijuana here. It's
the potency.
And to what extent? Elaborate more on that.
The potency, what happens is in the controlled environments in these farms, grow houses, they have different names for them in the States. They utilize different ways and means of promoting or raising the content of the THC. The THC, like I spoke in a prior segment,
well, you can explain
that THC, it's called tetra. That word, I have to go back to my notes because it's one of those long words.
That is the ingredient.
Yeah. Tetrahydrocannabinol.
Right.
That's the long word for THC.
And that is a psychoactive ingredient that's in the marijuana
in the
plant.
cannabis sativa plant.
Right.
Yes. And again, the potency is a lot higher in many of the products that come in from the United States. So again, the trouble is you weren't there when it was grown. You don't know, it could have been mixed with something else. You never know. You got to always take these things in consideration when you decide to consume it into your body. It's the same thing with pills and cocaine and everything else. Nowadays, fentanyl is being included into everything, and it has even talk about it being added to marijuana. Now, there were some cases that's still being followed up. It's not 100% confirmed, but there were some cases, like 30 cases a while back in a particular state where individuals stated that they only used marijuana and they had the same effects as someone using fentanyl. So it is believed and is still being investigated that it was infused or laced with fentanyl. The marijuana was.
But I know that has been happening in the States. I do know of specific cases where their fentanyl has been, or the marijuana has been laced with fentanyl. So, the cannabis has been laced with that. But what are the effects, would you say, with respect to this extremely higher potency of the cannabis that is sent in or shipped in, as opposed to what people normally, let's say for years, people grow in their yards and in their homes?
One of the main effect that would end up being long-term is, psychotic behavior. Mm-hmm. But normally you would hear from different people, different experiences they get from utilizing the cannabis. Somebody who just starts off and they go straight directly to a higher product of marijuana can get some serious side effects. End up vomiting, feeling drunk, intoxicated. There are different feelings you can get from it. Again, everybody's body chemistry is different. Mm-hmm. So, getting back to where we were talking about the pills, my fear is that in the Virgin Islands, and this is a fact, we have bar environments, bartenders, people who associate or be around different clubs and bars who are actually selling these pills to the younger individuals in our community.
What pills are these? Are these fentanyl pills or just regular,
They don't call them fentanyl pills.
What is it?
You name it. Many of them are legal prescription pills that are being sold, of course, on the side by getting them through the mail or getting them through a pharmacy here. Mm-hmm. That's not legally. Put it that way. Mm-hmm. And cases like that will be followed up and investigated, and they will be prosecuted to full extent of the law, for those individuals. Mm-hmm. But it's also being mailed in. All those different medications that they utilize for their high experience, they're being mailed in. And my fear is we're going to get a batch of those same pills, prescription pills that mm-hmm. supposed to be prescription pills, that's going to be laced with fentanyl. And we're going to have a number of serious deaths or overdose cases. And that's my biggest fear. That's why I'm out here promoting this. That's why, I'm trying to get the message out so nobody can't say they weren't told. DA has a saying right now, one pill can kill. And that is a fact.
Well, I think that's important too, because a lot of people, opt to order prescription medications and
Yep.
pain medications from, elsewhere online.
Foreign countries.
And they
yep.
have to be really careful
That's
and
right.
to know that, you have to be careful where you get them from, because they are, too many cases
I
where
would
they're
highly
laced with fentanyl and other things. So I think the education is, yes, important for the youth, but also
Yep.
important for everyone to
Of
understand
course.
that.
Of course. I would highly recommend that nobody orders prescription drugs through the mail. I would highly, especially from foreign countries. Because a lot of times when you go up online and you look at the product, you say, oh man, these pills are cheap. You can get them cheaper, your prescription.
Mhm.
A lot of times they're coming from China and these other places, and God knows what's in them. Don't take that chance. It's not worth it. Go to your doctor, get a prescription the legal way, go to your pharmacy and get the prescribed prescription from the pharmacy themselves. So in the event something happens that, there's a mix-up or something, then you know who you can focus on.
Mm-hmm.
But when you order it from someplace and here it is, you have a child or a relative that's lying in a casket, there's nobody you can hold accountable. It's a scary, scary thought. And people are taking these chances. They're actually playing Russian roulette, like we mentioned in the prior segment. People are playing Russian roulette with their lives when they take these chances of taking something that somebody says, oh, take this pill, man. It's going to make you feel good. Mm-hmm. Oh, it might make you feel good for the few seconds, but eventually, it's not worth it. Eventually, it might cause your demise.
Or even it goes to that area again, what we talked about. You can innocently purchase what you believe is a legal,
yes,
drug that you want for your pain, and it's not. So
that's why you go to a doctor for a prescription, and you go to a licensed pharmacy for that prescription. Don't, I'm pretty sure people in our community share the prescriptions with other family members. I'm feeling, stressed today or something, and somebody might give them a Xanax or something. It's not recommended. Mm-hmm. Go to a doctor, get a prescription, get your own. Do not do it, because you never know where they got that from. And it might be laced with fentanyl or some other deadly product, and it might cause your demise. Instead of helping you, it might end your life. Mm-hmm. And it's just not worth it, man. It's just not worth it.
And so we talk about, we know that it's and the opioid crisis is in epidemic proportions in the States. And so we have, of course, we're not in that epidemic, at that epidemic level yet.
Thank God.
So sometimes people ask, why care? And I want you to talk about that, because I know part of your work, HIDTA's work, also is about prevention, that this is the best time to care.
Yes.
Until instead of after, we're not. But talk more about that.
When we have our meetings, when I have my meetings with all the DIOs throughout the United States, which is like 60 of us, and I hear them talk about the overdose cases that particular week or in the last 24 hours or in the last year, it hurts my heart. Mm-hmm. I feel their pain and it bothers me, but I also feel good inside that I don't have to, tell them that, oh, we had 10 last night or, 500 or 1,000 last year. I want us to continue being at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to that. I don't want to ever be on the listing of overdose cases ever. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, our counterpart in Puerto Rico, our neighbors right across the water from us, they have a number of overdose cases over there, unfortunately. Right. And they're working hard on it. I work closely with my counterparts over there. Francisco Torres, he's a PHA, and Jose Rodriguez, he's my DIO. And we work closely together, and I try and help him the best I can also to try and, we work together for the same goal. Mm-hmm. And it's, of course, education, prevention, and everything else. They have to utilize ODMAP in Puerto Rico. Fortunately, we don't here, and I don't want to ever have to activate it here in the U.S.
Say again, what's ODMAP?
ODMAP is a mapping system where, let me give you an example. Say, for instance, I live on the north side. Say, for instance, we have, 2 deaths of overdose cases down in the, say, Hull Bay area. That would be included into the ODMAP system where law enforcement can see that. It's usually inputted by the EMTs or the medical personnel, Department of Health or the EMTs. And of course, if we ever had to initiate it here, I already have the blessings and working relationship with the EMTs here and the fire department. So I hope it never happens. But it's a mapping system where law enforcement will look in there and say, okay, we have 2 cases here. We need to focus in that area. Let's get to the bottom of it. Let's try and find who the seller was and try and nip it in the bud before it continues, because next thing you know, you're going to have 5 cases over there, 10 cases. And it's like any other part of the island. Mm-hmm. And that's what OD map is. It's a mapping system to show where OD cases or near, or, deaths and regular OD cases throughout a particular state, county, or territory. Mm-hmm. And it's a great, great system that's been in place now for a number of years. And again, I don't want to ever have to initiate it here in the USVI. That's my goal.
Well, I think that's the thing too. And as we talk about the overdose cases and the unfortunate cases where persons actually die, but it starts with addiction too.
Of course.
So then, there's even a larger number of people who are addicted to, whether it's prescription opioids or the illegal opioids. The fentanyl is the main killer.
Yep.
But it still starts with there. So
of course,
in your efforts of prevention and control, how do you address even that information with respect to the prescription drugs, apart from what you said about making sure that it's from a reputable physician or pharmacy?
Staying away from it. Again, unfortunately, we have college students, like I mentioned earlier, who are prescribed Adderall. Mm-hmm. Adderall is a product that's prescribed by doctors for students who have issues sleeping, studying long, these long nights, long days. And it's affecting many, many students. And we have found, based on the studies that I've done, that Adderall is a stepping stone for somebody who never utilized drugs. Mm-hmm. Remember, it was prescribed by a doctor. So it was a prescription given to a student. Mm-hmm. And they realized at some point that was not enough. So they stepped up the ladder from there. Mm-hmm. And it's, again, everybody's different. Everybody's body chemistry is different. Everybody's tolerance is different. And the long and short answer for that would be is just to stay away from it completely. If you do have to utilize a medication, get it prescribed by a doctor, get it from a pharmacy. Don't take a chance from getting it from any of your friends, family, co-workers, you name it. Because, unfortunately, I heard of situations, even here in the territory, where individuals were given a pill saying, man, take this here, man. You're gonna bounce all over the place. It's gonna make you feel good for the rest of the night at the club. And when you start to act up and act stupid and take off your clothes and go on and you're sweating and vomiting and stuff like that, everybody laughs at you. Mm-hmm. But they know that they gave you something to cause you to do that. Is that your friend? Mm-hmm. That's not your friend. Unfortunately, you got to be careful who your friends are, because sometimes your friends could actually be your enemy. Sometimes your friends could actually utilize you to make you the laughing stock of the party. That's right. These are different things that you need to be aware of. Again, I was young once. I know exactly where they're coming from. Mm-hmm. But you learn from experience. Right. I've seen what these different products have done to people throughout my career in law enforcement, and even now where I'm at right now as a drug intelligence officer. And it's a scary thought. It's really a scary thought. Again, friends, a lot of times, are they really your friends? That's a question you got to ask. Are they really your friends?
And going from there, and you're talking about all of your experience in drug enforcement and getting the word out there that you're doing right now, and the education and prevention. We're dealing with many other crimes as well, in addition to these drugs, drug crimes.
But a lot of time they tie in.
A lot of that, oftentimes they do. In fact, a lot of even the murders and the investigations show that there is, enterprises dealing with drugs and drug trafficking in these Virgin Islands. I want to know, what do you think you can say to the audience and the community with respect to our part? Okay. Each individual's part in helping with prevention and helping with getting to the bottom of this crime situation that we're facing right now.
Well, I'm glad you asked me that question, because I definitely want to address our community. When I was police chief for 5 years and police commissioner in this territory for 2 years, I know the pain, I know the feeling, I know the heartache that our community and family members go through due to homicides in the territory that's caused for many different reasons: turf wars, drugs, just regular little feuds. It's uncalled for. It's completely nonsense. People need to understand and step up to the plate and say, what can I do to resolve this issue? My thing to you is this today. Everyone in our community, I personally feel, if you're born here, born there, it don't matter. Everyone in this community, I feel, knows some law enforcement person in the community, either local or federal. Please reach out to that person and let them know what you know. Let them pass the information on to who it needs to get to. Because if we don't do that and we continue turning our backs on what is going on, eventually the crime is going to knock on your door. And that is a fact. Everyone in this community needs to step up to the plate. I know the pain that the police commissioner is going through. I've been there. I've responded to almost every murder when I was police chief and commissioner. It's not a good feeling. It's not a good feeling when our family members have to see their deceased the way they are. But we in the community can make this difference. Step up to the plate. Call Crime Stoppers. Call or talk to some law enforcement personnel, local or federal, somebody you know, either of a crime that you know that took place, you were witness to, or a crime that is supposed to take place and you happen to hear about it. Let somebody know, because if you turn your backs, it is eventually going to knock on your door. So I'm asking this community to do the right thing. This is our community. It's nobody else's community. Nobody else. Law enforcement cannot do it by themselves. This is a joint effort. We need to step up to the plate to make things right. And we can do it. We cannot say it can't be done. It's all up to the person that you look at in the mirror every day.
Yes, thank you so much. You got to be a part of the solution, all of us.
Definitely.
Got to be a part of that solution.
This is my community. It hurts my heart when I hear there's another homicide, shooting, stabbing, school fights. These are uncalled. Look, we are all practically family here in the Virgin Islands. We need to step up to the plate and do the right thing. That is the only way that we're going to turn things around. The only way. And we can do it. I trust and I believe in my people here. Let's do it.
Well said. Thank you so much again for joining us in these 2 episodes.
Thank you very much, AJ. Anytime.
Matters. Appreciate it.
Anytime. Anything I can do to get the message out, I really appreciate it. Thank you on behalf of ONDCP, the Office of National Drug Control Policy, the Overdose Response Strategy, and the Puerto Rico U.S. Virgin Islands HIDTA. And I definitely want to acknowledge the Director, Santana, for HIDTA, and the Deputy Director, James Doby. Yes. Samuel Santana is the director, and the deputy director is James Doby. Yes. They're doing an excellent job, and they're trying to do everything they can through HIDTA to assist the U.S., VI, and Puerto Rico in their efforts to make it better. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Justice Matters.